It's good to be with you again. This is Thanksgiving week for me. I don't know when you'll be watching this. Maybe at the end of Thanksgiving week if you're right on schedule with me. But in any event, it's Thanksgiving week as I come to you. So I want to tell you today something for which I am very thankful. It's not a big deal, but it's a representative thing for me. It's full of symbolism. I am thankful for grape nuts. I mean the cereal, grape nuts. And I'll tell you why. I can have grape nuts now anytime I want them. And I'm thinking back to my boyhood when once, somehow or other, we had grape nuts. And my dad and I would again and again tell my mother that we'd like to have grape nuts. And she advised us regularly that they were too expensive. There were other things that were much cheaper. And so we ate other cereals all the years of my growing up. Grape nuts became for me a kind of icon. That's what I thought you ate if you could afford to have a good breakfast. We couldn't afford that. So nowadays, once in a great while, I want to have a box of grape nuts in the house. I don't know that it's the best cereal of all, not by any means. There are several others that probably do me more good, and there may be several others that taste just as good. But none of them has for me the symbolic significance of grape nuts, because I couldn't afford them once. They represented to me something out of reach. Now, the truth is, of course, there are other items of food, too, that I can have more freely now. I can have ice cream if I want it, without waiting for special occasions as I did through my growing up. But now, of course, I'm at a point in my life where I have to be careful how much of ice cream I eat, or how much of candy or other sweets, especially since they appeal to me so much. So grape nuts, that's the measure for me. With grape nuts, I have this memory of something I once couldn't afford and now can. That seems, I'm sure, to be a pretty ridiculous thing to discuss on the Thanksgiving week, of things to be grateful for. But you see, all of us have those places in our lives where little things take on great significance to us. In fact, life as a whole is made up of little things, as you must well know. And when it comes to being thankful, it's especially little things that matter. I do a particular thing every morning. I look back on the previous day and write down the 3 or 4 matters from the previous day for which I am thankful. It's often some person with whom I had a conversation that day, or with whom I worked, or from whom I received a letter or an email or a telephone call. If something from that person blessed me, I'm liable to write in that place where I put a record of the things for which I'm grateful, that person's name. Sometimes it's simply for safe travel. When I'm driving some distance or flying somewhere, the next morning I thank God for safe travel. But all along the way, I discover that day after day, the things for which I give thanks to God are mostly almost incidental things. And yet those incidental things would be so significant if life took a turn to the worse because of them. And that's certainly true when it comes to a matter like travel. If one of those trips were to have an accident of some sort, or indeed a fatal accident, I wouldn't even be writing the next morning. Or if it was a bad accident, I might not be able to carry on my devotions in that same fashion in a hospital. So it's big in that regard. But mostly the things for which I thank God every day from the previous day are things that in the end are relatively minor things. A conversation with somebody, a letter received, an occasion of kindness, somebody's graciousness. All of this is the stuff that makes up life, for good and for ill. I'm trying to say 2 things to you when I say this. On the one hand, I'm going to tell you that as you try to list the things at Thanksgiving time or any day of the week for which you're thankful, be sure to look at all the little pieces of life, because the little pieces of life make up what life is about. Thank God for them. On the other hand, I'm speaking to you to be proactive in this matter. That is, will you seek to give somebody else a little reason to be thankful? Will you, by your kindness to a person in a checkout counter, your graciousness in traffic, the notes you write, the email you post, whatever it is, would you try once and again to think to yourself, little as this is, it could bless somebody. It could give them a reason to be thankful. If they are thankful or not, that's their problem. But to give them a reason to be thankful, that's your problem and mine. So let's do that. Let us, on the one hand, be thankful for things great and small, and let us bless others with reasons for which to be thankful, great and or small. That's what I'm thinking about today, and God bless you until we can talk together again.